in the face or something, you gotta remember it's so small. It's like, where the fuck are those cops gonna go home? They're gonna be shopping at the Bonus supermarket right where you are. You know, it's a city with like 145,000 people in it, right? It's like a town is the capital, right? So it's like, where the fuck is that police officer actually going to go that you're not going to see him walking down the main street? There's one main street. It's like, you're going to see that guy. So you want to think, you know, it's like, maybe you shouldn't be beating people in the head. And then also the police, the people, if they're throwing rocks or something, I'm just making up a situation. They need to think, you know, it's real old school. It's like you're gonna bump into that person at the well or whatever. So keep it cool.
Exactly.
But whenever there's a disconnect, like, oh yeah, like when you get to Tiananmen, see what I'm looking at with this economic collapse that we're entering in this phase, this time of changes, is I'm curious about when we get to this Tiananmen Square style shit, where there's like a disconnect between the police or National Guard or whoever it could be. It could be private security. It could be anybody. It could be gangs of thugs that just are ultra patriotic, or it could be anarchists, like you said, black bloc people. But when you get to that disconnect where you think that person on the other side could be blue-eyed Al-Qaeda, I don't know who it is, right? But when you get to that disconnect and you stop looking at the person across the aisle as like somebody that lives in your community or whatever, right? And then you're just like, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to run this tank right over those people in those tents or whatever it is that you're asked to do. You know, I would like to not see that in my lifetime. And to think, if you think that it doesn't happen in America, well, then you don't know history about the Wobblies and all that stuff. Because this stuff happens. Anytime it seems really weird. Even when the vets marched on Washington back in the day in the 30s or the 20s or whatever it was, the World War I vets, they shot those guys. Pershing and those guys. MacArthur, those guys were on cavalry on horses with swords and just charged the crowd. Kent State, they just shot students. Those guys weren't even, the students weren't even tossing Molotov cocktails, and they shot them dead.
That's fucked, man. A lot of stuff in the
don't you think for 1 second that won't happen again? Because that's what always happens. So, see, I'm interested when society gets so insecure that it can't do anything, because that's when everything turns to fascism so quick. So, what I'd like to see is people be civic-minded. See, I'm not going to any protests.
True, but...
You know what I mean?
I see what you mean. But then if there's no protest, then what? You know, I see there's a lot of good stuff happening in the digital age now, like with hackers and stuff sort of doing their bit to sort of make some noise or make people aware or whatever. But I think protests can be an efficient way of spreading a message if it's done properly. But
well, I think it's important. I think it's important in what these times that we're looking at, like the thing, like it looks like to me when I look at these sites, you know, like I check on my Twitter, see what Anonymous or those guys are doing, what any of these people are doing. You know, I check all these sites. I see what Alex Jones is up to. I like to see what people are saying and what they're talking around. Like, I don't care how it makes me look as far as my footprints, my digital footprints on this beach with the tide of all this stuff on the interweb. I just like to take a look around what's going on. And it doesn't matter. You know, I don't read the stuff that I'm not interested in. Sometimes when I look at something, I'll just go, I'm not interested in this. I'm not interested in the anti-Zionist banker angles and all this shit. Like, I could give a fuck, right? There's some interesting aspects though about not about that. About I'm really interested when this thing flips, because it always leads to fascism. The more insecure society gets, and you see like all these different things, man, you see it in the Netherlands, you know, with those politicians. You see it in Sweden. You see it in all these countries. The right wing it's growing. You know, the ultra right wing, and so I'm just watching because, you know, right and left, everybody's looking for an opportunity. You know, Le Pen was just talking last night in France. That chick, you know, she was the total Euro skeptic. When she took over for her pop, or whatever started her career in politics, she said, this shit's going to fail and we're going to be on the hook and we're not going to have the control to take care of our own country. And guess what happened? Now she looks like she was a prophet or something to some people because she was absolutely right in a certain respect. And I think people are afraid.
So you say she didn't want to go into the Euro?
She was a Euro skeptic because she said that, we're going to cede all this control and that they're going to fuck up and then we're not going to be able to maneuver with a single currency. See, because when you have a single currency, you can deflate or whatever. You can borrow against it. You can But if you're all locked together, you're just locked together.
Do you think that's why the UK didn't want any part of the Euro as well, or?
Well, I don't want my friends in the UK, because they're definitely keeping track of tabs on everybody, just like the US for good reason or whatever. And I don't want them to be all pissed off at me, but I'll tell you something. London's the financial capital of the world, part of it. They may not be the end-all vault, but I'll be damned if they're not. They have more power than you think they do. Way more power. They play like they're this fading empire, but that's bullshit.
They're quite
that's
connected.
Bullshit. Trust me, that's bullshit.
To other major countries, they're really, they're befriending governments left, right, and center. You know what I mean?
Just trust me, that's all bullshit. But there's definitely change in the wind. These people, man, they changed the laws on both sides of the pond here in New York, and like America's like the muscle. England's got something else. But they changed all those laws, for the banks to do all this stuff, and they caused it to happen. You have to remember, 3,500 years, this was the best idea that they had in Western civilization, this union. And here it is, teetering. It's amazing. So, you got to listen to me when I say this. Are you ready?
Yeah.
They either have a backup plan, and it's irresponsible for them to say that, because when you imply that you've already thought out, if it fails, then everybody makes a move on that information. So they keep saying, like Germany says, we're not going to exit the euro, we're not killing off the euro, we're going to do everything to say it. But you got to know that. So either they don't have a backup plan, and then everybody's fucked, right? Or they do have a backup plan, a plan B, or this was the plan. But there's no other way. There's no other options in reality. Dictates. See? Either this was a plan to move on to something else, like you let this old thing collapse, and then everybody demands that you stabilize everything so they can go back to shopping in the pursuit of happiness and being farmers or whatever, checking their Facebook page. So either they have a plan and they can't say it because that will trigger the markets. Everybody will go, well, fucking abandon ship because they're going to go to a new thing. Reposition yourself, right? So that's what would happen if they said, well, if it does collapse, this is what we do. When the minute they say that, then they go, oh my God, they're talking about collapse. Pole position.
Jump ship.
Exactly. So they can't say that publicly, right? So either they have another plan, or they don't have a plan, and they're that stupid. Which every time everybody, this is the argument that people that don't believe anything, conspiracy, when they call things conspiracy, just two people, man, there's been nothing but conspiracy. People conspire. That's the way it goes, to do all kinds of fucking things for the history of mankind, So anyway, but I'm not talking conspiracies. I'm talking reality check. It's like, if they don't have a plan, then if you're an idiot, if you think that everything's just random, we're going to see who gets elected next time, the whimsy of the wind. It's not like that. It's not just random. I don't believe in that. So then, So they either have a plan, and they can't say it because that's like yelling fire in a theater, and it forces their hand. They don't have a plan, which I don't believe, or they planned. This is the way to change it to the new thing, the next level. To have this one decay and out of the ashes like a phoenix rise up.
A step in another direction.
Mm.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, but you want to hope. you want to hope most of these countries have a plan if everything shit if shit hits the fan. You know what I mean?
Well, we're all interconnected. That's what the G20 and all this crap is about, and the all these trade unions and all this stuff, and borderless amalgamations, right? So it's not every man for himself. See, that's bullshit. They're all linked together. They're all linked together, so there's no going it alone, it looks like. Anything else?
No, not really, man. Not really.
Just visiting.
Maybe we can play some music.
That's what I'm thinking.
What do you got in mind?
Well, I'm gonna play one more. I'm gonna play one more noise song.
And then were you planning on that the country sort of stuff?
Another show.
Maybe today?
Yeah, it's another show.
Okay. Because I'd love to hear some old spaghetti western tracks that I'm not aware of. You know.
Yeah, well, I'll do that soon enough.
Good shit. Good shit. Thanks for your time, Anton.
Anytime. Let me find me. Where'd I go? Holy shit. I cut myself out of the picture. Here we are. Here's us shaking hands. Wait, how do I do this? Oh, yeah. Let's shake hands like this. If you can figure out with the mirror, you can, like, pretend we're shaking hands. Well, you gotta put it going out the side like you're shaking hands. There we go. It was good talking to you, buddy. You take care, okay? Alright. Just visiting with the Netherlands. Now everybody dig this.